Hi, Kristyn Green.
Hi.
What's up?
Hi, Dillon Garland.
Welcome to this beautiful theater in Wolfville.
And it's a packed house.
It is, yeah. This is the most people I've ever had watching me speak ever, and it's really nerve-wracking.
Going right into it, you are the writer,
Yes.
director, producer, stuntman,
Yep.
editor,
Yep.
an actor.
Yep.
Am I missing anything?
Probably. Yeah.
I can't even think of what else there is, but
I mean, there probably isn't anything, so this is a joke that just went on too long. This is what this is.
everything, you're doing absolutely everything for a production called The Last Divide.
Yep.
Can you tell us, like, absolutely everything that you can about it?
Sure. So The Last Divide world, I guess, I'll sort of describe it as that, because there are two major parts to what The Last Divide is. The Last Divide started as a movie we shot it in 2017, it aired in 2018, and then we've been lucky enough to be able to make the sequel story within the television series that is airing now on Eastlink Community TV. So the world of The Last Divide all takes place kind of post-society collapse. So the world has fallen apart. It's got to a point where violence has sort of overtaken the entirety of Nova Scotia, the province, and the broader world too, but we're sort of focused solely on Nova Scotia. The cities are just like hot spots of danger, so nobody goes there anymore. Everybody's kind of living in the woods, kind of hiding and traveling. You know, they're going back to just a world without technology and without comfort and all that. So it's a hard world to live in. Within our story, we're telling a story about the Hatfield family, Chloe, Ryan, and Seth for the original movie. And it just kind of shows what they have to do to maintain safety for their family, or the family they have left, which we'll get into. And it's just a story about perseverance, hope, and you know, being able to get together as a society, as a community, and work towards the good, and not let the bad sort of, you know, overtake the good people in the world. Do-gooders, all that. So it's a post-apocalyptic story set in Nova Scotia. The movie is set a week after the world falls apart, and then the show happens 5 years after the world falls apart. So yeah, there's a big time gap.
Incredible, incredible. Now, please tell me, how in the world did you come up with this story?
I had a phase, which I'm not out of yet, so I don't know if it's actually a phase. I am a huge spaghetti Western fan. I love the movies to death. Like, even the worst, like, horribly written Westerns are still, like, super entertaining to me. So I love that world of, like, just kind of the simplicity of what a Western is. Because on the kind of outside looking in of a Western, it's usually about kind of one thing. Say, you know, a gang of bandits killed my father and now I'm out for revenge. Or my son's joined a gang, I need to get him out. Or something like, you know, oh, we got to hire 5 or 7 bounty hunters to help protect this village. Like, it's all sort of like one sentence simplicity to it, but then when you dig into it and see, there's like so much commentary on a whole bunch of stuff, and you get into what Westerns really are, because they're a very masculine genre of film. You get to see the fall of man, the like cracks in the men who are, like, you know, trying to be all tough and gruff and all that stuff. So I like that idea of like this simple idea with layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. So I wanted to write a Western. It's a long-winded way of me saying I wanted to write a Western. I started coming up with a story where I wanted to write something that I was very familiar with, and a lot of my work comes from fear, where I will kind of look at it like, what am I scared of? So I made a film called Afraid to Speak, which is about a young man dealing with depression, and it was something that I dealt with, so it was like a fear of mine. I'm like, well, what if depression like started to win, and what if there's no kind of end to it? So I wrote the story about that. This one was based upon like my own sister. So the story of the movie itself was, what would I do if the world ended tomorrow and I didn't know where my sister was? So the story of The Last Divide movie is about Seth, the older brother, immediately looking for his younger sister, who he doesn't know if she's alive or not, and kind of telling that story. So I wrote it years ago. It was originally called Like Brother, Like Sister, kind of a working title. And I wrote it kind of thinking that, okay, this will be something I make in 10 years, because it was wildly ambitious. Like, it was way above the budget that I had at the time. But thankfully, through Winterlight Productions and Eastlink Community TV, we had a chance to make films on kind of like a micro-budget sense, but biggest budget I had ever worked with. So to me, it was like, okay, cool, I got Star Wars budget. Let's do this. I pitched them this idea that was garbage that I kind of thought that they wanted to hear. We're, like, so far removed from passion that I think I'd ever been pitching this thing. And on the ride home after I had pitched the crappy version, Paul Kimball, who works on Winterlight, who was the one of the producers for Cinema 902, which is the show that we ended up making the movie for. He was talking and I wasn't listening to him at all. Like, I was in my own world. I was completely ignoring him, and he knows this. I wasn't hearing a word, and then mid-sentence, I'm like, you know what, I have this other idea. And I said, I have this idea called Like Brother, Like Sister, and it's about a young man trying to find his sister at the end of the world before it's too late. And then I kind of ran down exactly what the story was going to be, where it was going to take place, and all that, and they greenlit it.
Going back to the Last Divide movie then, where I understand that you kind of filmed it in a bit of a special place.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Oh, for sure, yeah. When I wrote it, I had a very specific place in mind, and it was my hometown, Barrington Passage, Shelburne County area, south shore of Nova Scotia. The reason I wanted to do that is because it had been so long since I filmed anything there, and it's where, you know, I started. It was home to me, and I felt like because this was such a personal story of, like, I'm writing a story about what my worst fear would be if I lost my younger sister. I wanted to go to a place that I was familiar with and then take advantage of that, because Barrington is beautiful, and there are so many places where, like, I know that given my connection to home and who I know, like family, friends, and friends of friends and all that, that I'd be able to kind of access a lot of stuff that I wouldn't be able to access anywhere else, or that would cost way too much money to access. Beautiful coastlines, like homes. There's a shot within the movie itself of like this big room, which is my grandfather's barn, just filled with like ham radios on the wall. Like it looks like we paid an art director $1 million to go in, but it was already there and we didn't have to do anything. So I knew that, like, one, I wanted to have that close personal connection to home because it was very special to me. I wanted to bring a big project home as well because I think that was cool. Like, just kind of be like, hey, like, check this out. We filmed this here. Like, thank everybody for your support. Like, now I made it work and now we're bringing it back. And then as well, like, just the locations and making it special, because I didn't want to kind of give up and be like, all right, well, crap, I can't get what I want, so we'll go do it at this local place just because it's easier. I knew places in Barrington. I wanted to get there, so that was the biggest, yeah.
Wow, it just seemed like it just checked all the boxes of, like, it's a beautiful place. But you're right, like, it must be amazing to be able to bring something back to your hometown and it just be like,
yeah,
all come full circle. Now, if you're not busy, I'd love to get into...
I don't think so.
I'd love to get into more about filming this film, The Last Divide. So what was the first kind of process? Like, so you wrote it, but then casting. What was the casting process like?
Casting, it was interesting because it was the biggest casting call I'd ever done because we had so many people come in. Like, I would get a decent amount for other projects, but because this one actually had a proper budget and everything like that, we had a lot more interest in doing it. So we did like an open casting call of just like every 15 minutes a new person coming in, trying to find those perfect characters. And the one kind of tricky thing too is that, you know, not only were we casting for specific characters, but we were casting for a family. So they kind of had to mesh together well or it wouldn't work. Because I mean, if the brother and sister aren't believable, then I'm screwed. The story doesn't mean anything. So we ended up finding some amazing actors that didn't make the cut, but the ones we found were kind of that like perfect embodiment of what we're doing. So we did a scene through the read-through where Sarah and Seth are talking after she walks in and sees him praying, because he's not a religious guy, but like he's at such an end of his rope that he's like, he doesn't know what to do, so now he's praying that he can find his sister. And there's a moment in that read-through in the audition, because I had both her and Seth do the second callback, and she added like, she read a line in a way that I didn't expect. Like it was very like painful, and I had always read it kind of like optimistic and everything like that, but it showed me like, yo, okay, never mind, I'm reading this wrong, and you actually know Sarah way better than me, so I'm gonna learn from this. And it was just like perfect. Wow,
and it's fascinating too that like you said, like every single person, when they auditioned, you immediately were like, that's them.
It's gut feeling. Like right when they walked in and started talking, it's like I can envision it. Because I think I have it, like whenever I write, I have it in my mind, like I think I know what these characters look like roughly. I have an understanding what they look like. And then when I see the casting and I see the right person, it's like, no, never mind, I was wrong. This is what they look like.
So you did just mention that you had a read through.
Yes.
How did that go?
It was the moment I knew it was going to work. Like the exact moment. Because when I had them sitting down, it was, I remember it very vividly, and I have like a photo that I took because I was kind of like enamored with the whole thing. It was Colby and Holly sitting on one couch, and then Tia and Phoebe sitting on the other, and then we just read through the whole script. And I was just like, I was like 8-year-old kid listening in. It was amazing. I won't say that I was like struggling with my confidence with the movie itself. Like I was feeling very good about it, but the moment I saw all 4 of them together talking and like kind of getting into those characters, I knew like, yep, this is gonna work because those 4 are perfect.
What was the night before your very first day of filming? What was that like for you?
Anxiety ridden, and I think I slept an hour. The pressure was on me, not so much from like a standpoint of like, oh, you got to get this done because you got to serve all these masters and everything. It was more so like, can I do this? Because this was the biggest project. It was a very ambitious script. Like the script was punching above its weight class, and we had a very limited time too. We only had 13 days to film the entire first movie. But I was nervous and scared because I didn't know if I would be able to pull it off. And it was nerve-wracking and scary, and yeah, it was a lot. But I was excited. And then the moment we got on set and the team started working together, it's like, oh, never mind. We're good. Like, yeah.
And you did pull it off.
I think so. I think, maybe. I mean, we're sitting here in 2022. We shot that in 2017, and we're still talking about it, so I feel like something works.
And again, when you were talking about with the casting, like, and each actor was so much that character. Mm-hmm. Can you go through each character and give me like a little bit of a synopsis about them, or,
yeah, totally, yeah.
or something like that?
Yeah, it was a lot of it was like a lot of personal things from me, like when I was writing these characters, because I kind of took like little pieces of me and threw them in each one, and then kind of expanded that personality. So they're all very different, but they all kind of have the same sort of goal, except for Ryan. For Chloe, Phoebe Rex, we got her through a self-tape sent in. And it was the second I saw it, I'm like, okay, that's Chloe. Like there was just something about the way that she was handling the subject matter and performing that was like, that is the mature child who really in the long run ends up being the adult of the family. Like she's carrying this, because I think she was 13 when she first auditioned.
I was going to ask,
yeah, she's really young. But she carried herself so well, and like you could see like the way that she was performing Chloe was that of somebody who had so much experience dealing with like being kind of that people pleaser and trying to maintain the family to stick together. She was so mature past her age, and like she was able to convey that with the story, so she was like perfect. For Seth, we found Colby Conrad, who brought this insane intensity to the character, which was good. Like the way he auditioned, it was fantastic. It was perfect. Like he was gruff, and it was like, it showed this character, which is what Seth is, this character that is on the outside hard-shelled, but on the inside a softie, so you could see that. But the thing that struck me most about Colby is that after the audition, we just had a conversation for about 10 minutes. And he was talking about his life, and he ended up actually living very close to where I used to live. And like we had friends of friends that were connected, so like, how have I never met you or anything like that? But we talked for a good 10 minutes, and you could see the passion in his eyes that like, I don't want to do this for the credit, I'm not doing this for the money, like I am Seth, I would like the opportunity. And it was just like, yeah, I mean, it's perfect. And then comparing Phoebe and Colby, it's like, yeah, those two, they are brother and sister. So like it works fantastic. For Sarah, Tia Andriani, who ended up playing her, I was under the impression that Tia was not living in Nova Scotia at the time. I thought she was in New York because she was living in New York for a while. So I had joked very early on in the audition process, like, man, I wish Tia was here because she'd be perfect for this role. Then I got an email from Tia saying like, hey, I'd love to audition for this. Like, holy crap, she's here. I always describe Sarah, Kelsey, who ends up revealing her name is Sarah. She's kind of a movie character. Like she's weird, she's quirky, like she is like out there, like almost like B-movie cheesy in a way, and a lot of times. But it's the mask that Sarah wears, like the Kelsey mask that Sarah wears. And Tia had that good balance of like showing that she was that quirky, outgoing, optimistic, putting on the mask on, but then she took it off and you could see just how much it hurt and the pain that she was feeling. For Ryan, the third sibling of the Hatfield family, which we don't really reveal until about halfway through the movie, but Holly Stevens I'd worked with so many times, and I had always wanted to get her in a project that was right. Like, I didn't want to throw her in a role. It's like, you know, I'm throwing it in for no reason. I wanted to make sure that it was something that she could bite her teeth into and that she was right for. And we had her come in and audition for Ryan, and I had never seen that side of Holly before, because Ryan is a very intense individual. Like, she's bloodthirsty in the movie, and I just saw it like shift in her eyes. Like, she turned into this kind of evil character, and it's the theme of doing the casting for this movie. It's like, yep, she's it. Like, you know right away, like, that's it.
So please tell me, how did the filming go of the film?
It went like a speeding train, I think. It feels like we shot over 48 hours. Like, when I think back, it feels like it was all sort of one chunk, but obviously it wasn't. It's 13 days. It was very funny because I got worried on day one. I sort of scheduled day one to be very easy and like, let's figure out cameras and everything like that. And then next day we'll kind of get heavier and heavier, and then by like day 4 we'll be kind of hitting the road full days and getting that all figured out. So we started with the scene where we first see Seth's feet come in, and he walks in, and then he hears somebody screaming, and then he bails. Before that though, immediately one of our tripod legs exploded. Like minute 1, before we even slated the whole thing. There was so much pressure built up that when we were trying to extend it, for some reason the pressure just decided to go nope, and the whole thing just boom. Completely shattered. So we had a broken tripod the entire shoot. That was day 1. That was minute 1, and I was slightly worried. It wasn't always like that. We were good, but yeah, it was not exactly a thrilling start, and I thought we were screwed. Filmmaking is very stressful just by design. Like, you're trying to accomplish a week's worth of stuff in a day, constantly. But there was this awesome kind of calmness about the shoot, because we were, at least for me, I was at home, and a lot of these locations were like, okay, everything's kind of cool. One of the biggest locations we did early on is the grandfather's barn, which is actually my grandfather Sherrod's barn. And one of the things we wanted to do is that I didn't want Tia to see it right away, because her character is kind of amazed at what this place is. Like, she's just like, what is this? So we wouldn't let her go in at first. We said, no, wait outside. You're not allowed to come in here. You can come in when like you're ready, but you cannot come in before us filming. There are walls of records. There are walls of instruments. It's like got everything. Like, it's amazing. It's like the world's coolest pawn shop. But the big selling piece is this huge wall of ham radios that just like covers the entire firewall. When we're getting ready, we roll, they come through and come around the corner, and this was not written, but she just yelled, holy shit, and it was like natural, perfect, and that's what made it into the film. But it was cool to kind of show that, like, that spot that I had been around like every week my entire life, having that on camera and seeing like a character that I wrote see it, it was really cool. One of the hardest things to do was the ending, the kind of confrontation between Ryan and Chloe. We shot it over 3 days because they kept going back. Like, we filmed the first day, and I was like, I don't know if this is working, so I'd go back and rewrite it. We go shoot some other stuff. Then I was like, I still don't know if I got it, so then we went back and shot a third day to get it kind of all what we needed. It was actually shot on the point of land that juts out into the river that is the inspiration for the name River Point Studios. Yeah, that's where we shot it. Yeah, I grew up there. We used to have like a treehouse there and everything, and I wanted to go back. So that location is the River Point and River Point Studios.
When filming was all done, how did you feel about it?
I felt good. There were moments that we ended up shooting that didn't make the film, but I think it just made it better. Like, we had this whole introduction where Ryan was supposed to take over a house to kind of establish like what their point was. She was going to go in and she was going to take out the parents and then steal the kid, and then kind of like we would see that. We see the ending with the stealing kid part, but her showing up and introducing herself as like the villain kind of thing didn't make it, because just it was weird flowing. But it worked out fine, because one of the actors in that scene that we ended up getting is actually in the TV series now, so it worked out, because he's not canon to The Last Divide, so it worked out. But when I was done, when I got to watch it, and when I got the music from Donnie, our composer, who is just I don't know if he'll agree with this, but he's kind of like my John Williams, where it's like he's my go-to because he's so damn good and he gets what we're doing, and he just like surprises me every time. He also had a time crunch, so the work he did was phenomenal. But getting that all together, getting the sound, getting the music, being able to see the final product of this thing that had been years in the making, was incredible. It was amazing. One of the great things too is that, obviously it aired on Eastland Community TV, which is huge. And that's cool to me because there were a couple of times while we were filming other shows, like Holly Stevens' Slancha, where we would be staying at a hotel and I would turn on the TV and they would have Eastlink and The Last Divide was playing. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, how many people are actually watching this? It was awesome. So it was really cool for that. But outside of that too, outside of Canada, we had a very good run in festivals like worldwide. And we managed to win like a lot of awards and stuff like that. One of the coolest awards we ever got, which to me is like better than a Best Director award, is we got Best Ensemble Cast for it. We had a spot where all the Hatfields won awards for acting and everything like that. It was amazing. But we were supposed to, I forgot about this, we were supposed to air, weather screwed this over and I'm so mad, but we were supposed to air, I believe somewhere in the UK, where our movie was playing and then the Beatles' Yellow Submarine was playing. Yeah. It never happened because of weather and it got canceled, but I was like, that's amazing. Yeah, we almost opened for the Beatles.
I would just say that. Say that it didn't get canceled.
Yeah, who's gonna know, right?
Nobody would ever know.
If you're watching the show, just ignore the way. So let me reword that. Yeah, The Last Divide opened for the Beatles in 2018. It was cool, yeah.
Yeah, it did. Yes, it did. So please tell me a little bit then, like, what do you envision for the legacy of The Last Divide?
When I made it, I was hopeful that it would be a film that people revisit and like have fun with and enjoy. Like, I want them to kind of cheer for those characters, same way I did when I was a kid, when I was watching Star Wars or Jurassic Park, like just kind of getting enamored with the world and the story. So I'm hoping that the legacy of this story is that of, kind of adventure and excitement and something that is a little different for Nova Scotia, something that looks out of place, but in a good way. So I'm hoping it survives that and people just kind of fall in love with the characters, fall in love with the world, and continue wanting to see more.
Which brings me to my very last question, which is, what do you see for the future of The Last Divide?
What I love is that we already have it, and it's already ready, and it's already airing. The future changed a lot. When I wrote the film, admittedly, I had a 3-film plan. I knew where I wanted the story to go. I knew what part 2 was going to be, I knew what part 3 was going to be, and I knew how I wanted to end it. When we got switched to a TV show, it challenged me to look at it a little differently, and then we had a couple other things that had to change for the show, where it challenged me to look into it. But the future is now the Last Divide TV series, which expands so much of the movie, but also introduces it in a way where if you haven't seen the movie, it will still make sense. If you have seen the movie, there might be small little nuggets here and there, there are little Easter eggs, but it is for an audience that can come in completely fresh and understand it. But also, if you've seen the movie, you'll kind of get the small bits. But I think the legacy is these characters, the Hatfields, and the stories they tell. And I'm hoping that this show is something that excites every single person that watches it. Because I'll admit, making this show and even making the movie, my goal was, can I make the 8-year-old me watching Jurassic Park on VHS be interested and happy and like want to watch this? And I was watching an episode last night, and I was like, you know what? 8-year-old me would have been into this like full tilt. It may have been the first show that would have allowed me to actually take out my Jurassic Park VHS and not watch that again that day. But I'm very happy with it, and I love it, and I'm hoping that the legacy expands past what I said, and that the future is, what's next. And right now, what's next is the TV series.
Like I said, we just want to talk.
We can talk when I'm done with you. Just don't expect to have any teeth left.